March Madness is upon us, and couple that with the NBA season is going on, actually going to the playoffs. A better way to bet on those games and games in other sports like the Premier League and everything else, or even Major League Soccer, than betus.com, where you can get 125% of the sign-up bonus, which is up to $2,500 by using the promo code TKT for the Klown Times. So what are these other perks here? You can bet on the go. You can bet anytime, anywhere on your mobile device. You get fast pass, or you get paid immediately every single time. And last but not least, you can you could do live betting where you can bet during the game, getting the early and the best lines. Again, use my promo code TKT for the Klown Times to get up to 125% of the sign-up bonus, which is up to $2,500. So again, not to sound like a book record, but go to betus.com where the game begins. Welcome to tonight's NBA playoff edition of the Klown Podcast. I'm Scott Burks. Please check me out here at, they got it backwards here, www.theklowntimes.net. It's Klown spelled with K. You can find me on YouTube. Once this uploads tomorrow, please check me out. And please remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Not in the order specifically, but that will make me happy. I'm picking up new subscribers up to over 360. So I celebrate the small victories. So please keep coming. Please keep your support up. Really appreciate it. And also please check me out on Facebook. So when you're on your smartphone, desktop, laptop, wherever you are, wherever you may be, just type in the Klown Times. Again, Klown spelled with K. You'll be able to find me there as well. One last thing, speaking of the hat, you can find the merch at www.cafepress.com. Search for the Klown Times Sports. I will have those links in the description once this gets uploaded to YouTube tomorrow, so you can find it there as well. All right, so it's NBA time. I mean, it's playoffs. Exciting playing games, except for last night, but more on that in a moment. But to talk NBA's, my pals again, you know those guys, you've seen them before from the Weekend Adjustments radio show, and based out of Hamilton, Ohio, which is only 25 miles north of Cincinnati. My guys, Kevin McCune and Jarrod Singleton, are back in the house. So fellas, how you been, man?
Good. I'm glad to be back.
Right on. And Jarrod's still shy again, so we'll keep it going.
I was just waiting for Kevin to go. I'm doing well. It's nice to be back. I always enjoy having these conversations.
Right on. So let's get to it, fellas. Speaking of playing games, I guess we'll maybe talk about last night a little later. But last night was a little bit anticlimactic. But let's go to the first night of the playing games. It's crazy to see with all the injuries now that Brooklyn playing for the 7th seed, you know, going against the Cavs, who was not a surprise team. And so, you know, it's expected Brooklyn handle the business and beat Cleveland, not before they let Cleveland back in it. But at any rate, now Brooklyn's a 7th seed. So they're slated to go against Boston as the 2 seed. So, Kevin, I'm going to start off with you. How much of a chance do you give Brooklyn to make some serious noise in the playoffs as a 7th seed?
No, I think I give him a decent chance. I mean, anytime you have, KD and Kyrie, you got a chance. But as far as Boston, I think the storyline is here. You're the 2 seed. As much as injuries played a role in the Nets being the 7th seed and the drama with Harden and everything this year, Boston's the 2 seed, but Robert Williams is a pretty big injury for them. They expect him to not play in the first round. I think that's a big loss when he averages nearly a double-double. I think 10 and change and 9 boards per game. So I think that loss is going to be felt. He's started doing some shoot-arounds, but I just checked before I jumped on here. He's not going to play in the first round. So I think for me, I think the storyline for Boston centers around Tatum and Brown and that young core that's been there. And it's like, hey, this is your chance. This is your chance to, I think, start building a legacy. I think with the older guys in the NBA with like Steph Curry and LeBron, fans like to talk about, their legacies and pick them apart. And, Tatum, to this point in his career, to an extent, I think has been bulletproof to that, just because of he's had youth on his side. And but he's becoming one of the faces of the NBA. And this is a really big series. Yeah, I know it's first round, I know it's 2-7, but when you look at the star power of the Nets, I think if Boston is able to get it done, I think Tatum starts to really build his legacy to who he's going to be. If they lose the series to the Nets, though, I think it's fair to start having that conversation about Tatum and his legacy and not being able to get it done in the playoffs. So that's where I'm at on it.
Wow. I mean, it's funny you said that because, and this is all good points, because we all remember Tatum as a rookie, right? When they made that run to the Eastern Conference title game, and they were on the home court for Game 7, and they came this close to knocking off LeBron and the Cavaliers. I think that was the year that the Cavaliers won it, right?
It might have been, yeah.
I think it might have been the year they came from behind against the Golden State Warriors with 3 down to win. So just saying that they've been close. To your point, it's just a matter of, can this young man get this team over the hump? This young man being, of course, Tatum and Jaylen Brown too.
Yeah.
So those two, they'll do. I mean, is it fair to call Jason Tatum a superstar? And Jaylen Brown?
That's what I think. That's why I'm saying I think that we can start building the narrative one way or the other, hinging on this series, just who he's going up against. He's still young, but we can start saying he's not that young anymore.
Right.
And it's time to start holding his feet to the fire as far as who he's going to be. And in the NBA, will he be one of the faces of the league? Because we assume he will be for the next 10 years, but to this point, he hasn't done much meaningful yet.
Who knows? Oh, so Jarrod, do you think what's the you? Do you think we'll have like a Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving revenge tour through going through the second round past Boston, or what do you think happens there?
I think what is going to happen is Boston is going to essentially let KD and Kyrie cook and get their own, and let them play for 48 minutes and let them wear themselves down. And if they lose 3 games, they don't care. I think Boston's going to win this because Brooklyn has nothing but KD and Kyrie. That's fantastic. I understand that you don't want to bet against both of them, but Boston is uniquely prepared for them insofar as you can throw Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown at Kevin Durant and they're going to bug him. Marcus Smart guards 1 through 5. Lonnie Walker was a fantastic pickup for Boston. It's been just everything that they've done this year, aside from the beginning when they were kind of trying to get things together, mesh with the new coach and everything. They've been playing at a pace of, the 72 win Bulls or the 73 win Golden State Warriors to bring themselves into the 2nd seed. And yes, while Robert Williams is a very big, I don't know what, shot blocker and he protects the basket, while he might be really good at both of those things, if you watch Brooklyn doesn't necessarily go to the basket. That's not where they get their bread and butter. So if Robert Williams is not in for this series, yes, it is a blow. Don't think it's not, but it's not as debilitating as it would be if they were going up against, say, Milwaukee, for example.
Yeah, that's that. Milwaukee has number trees, athletic trees at that on that squad, and people tend to forget they're the defending world champs. So you got that going on. I mean, I hate saying this as a Knicks fan, but I love how this Boston Celtics team is built. Right? These guys are complete dogs. I mean that in the most complimentary way. They'll get after it defensively. They're tough as hell. I mean, one thing that sold me on their toughness is that they could have easily melded in and ducked the Nets, playing the Nets in the first one. They could have easily done that. But they were like, no, we're gonna play this out. We're not scared of anybody. We're coming, right? Milwaukee, they want to put Milwaukee on notice. They want to put Miami Heat on notice, and they're not. They say we're not afraid of KD and Kyrie. As mercurious Kyrie is, how great my Kyrie and KD are, they're not afraid of it. So the fact that they did not duck Brooklyn, the possibility of playing Brooklyn in the first round, that says a lot to me about this makeup of the Celtics. So I know that a lot of pundits, NBA pundits, have Brooklyn actually winning at 6, believe it or not, because as you guys said earlier, Brooklyn has KD and Kyrie, and Boston does not. But what Boston does have is that you can't coach toughness and heart. And Marcus Smart would be damned if his team goes down to a squad like, I mean, I don't want to call him a two-trick pony, if you will, with KD and Kyrie, but Brooklyn is not as tough as Boston. And Boston, to me, is a better overall squad. They're better coached. You know what I'm saying? And there's more, they're better put together from top to bottom on the roster. So I think it would be a compelling series. I think it'd be competitive. I think worst case scenario, Boston wins in 7. But I'm thinking Boston wins this in 6. I think they're just tougher than Kevin. I think they're tougher than Brooklyn. At least this year they are. Yeah. So basically, outside of that matchup in the East, I mean, the East is wide open, guys. It's so wide open. We were talking off camera earlier. Jarrod made a point. This is the best the East has looked in his lifetime. You know, I know that just in his 30s, but the point of Jarrod is his 30s. But the fact remains is that this is, I mean, I can say this too. This is the best the East has looked since the Jordan years of winning those championships, that dynasty in the 90s. Because essentially, teams 1 through 4 have a gooder shot of representing the East as anything. If you go Miami, that's obviously the top seed, right? Miami, Boston, Milwaukee, the defending champs, by the way, again, and Philly. Either one of those 4 teams could come out of the East, and no one would be shocked. Because and if you look at how they finish in the standings, teams 1 through 4 only two games will finish up, and they're all 50+ game winners. So this, in addition to them being the East being, as I dare argue, better than the West, because the West is basically Phoenix, Memphis, and everybody else, maybe Golden State, and everybody else. But it's just more balanced. I mean, if you look at teams 1 through 10 in the East, all of them finished above 500. None of them lost 40 games or more. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's just that balanced. So to me, Kevin, this is going to be the most fun I have watching the East in the playoffs in a very long time, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's kind of like a little flop from really the last 2 decades. I mean, if you think about it, I mean, the East has been LeBron, and then the Celtics when they had Kevin Garnett and Pierce and Ray Allen, they had a few years, but I think LeBron James taking a team with Boobie Gibson and Sasha Pavlovich to the finals in the mid 2000s is all that you really need to know to tell you how good the East was back then. No knock on LeBron, right? He's awesome. But it does speak to where that conference was at back then. Right. And yeah, right now, top to bottom, it is insane. I was hoping the Cavs would be better positioned. They had some injuries late in the year that really just kind of threw off all their momentum. Really, after the last time we met, I mean, Jarrod Allen, he's been down. He's going to try to get back tomorrow night, and Garland missed some games. They traded for Karis LeVert, and then he ended up missing for a while. So I'm hoping they can get a win so I was actually going to try to wear my Cavs hat tonight. Couldn't find it, so I just threw the Jazz hat on. But no, it's yeah, it's exciting. Yeah, it's gonna be fun to watch and watch it all play out.
So let me ask you this, Jarrod. Like I was going to ask you, and I'll throw it back to you, Kevin, momentarily. Like it's so tough to handicap the East right now because before the season I had Milwaukee going back to the finals in the finals rematch against Phoenix, and this is looking like it may head in that direction, even though Milwaukee's the 3rd seed. I always keep an eye out for Miami the last few seasons of the playoffs for some reason. I just like the way they're set up. I love their toughness. Talking about toughness earlier with the Celtics. I just like the culture they have in South Beach. And I like the way that, after Jimmy Butler won the fight, Coach Eric Spoelstra and Udonis Haslem, which would have been a terrible idea to fight Udonis Haslem in court. Thankfully he didn't. But it seems like, I don't know what happened, Jarrod, in that team meeting. I don't know if Udonis was waiting for Jimmy Butler in the locker room to challenge him again. I don't know if Coach Spo wanted to tag team in on him. And I don't know if Pat Riley, the great Pat Riley, came down from the executive seat and cussed Jimmy Butler out in front of the whole team. I don't know what happened. But they ended up winning the last 7 games.
So I am uniquely qualified to speak on this subject insofar as I've listened to Bam Adebayo talk about it twice now. And both times he has expressed that it is nothing out of the ordinary, that this kind of thing happens in practice all the time. It is something that is just built into the culture of the Miami Heat organization. People can view it as combative, but the team as a whole, including everybody in the Heat organization, look at it as everybody's pulling in the same direction to try and win. And sometimes that competitive spirit just boils over. Spoelstra doesn't normally pop off like that, but he does. He did there. So it was just nothing really out of the ordinary. And then afterwards, peace was made, things were said, and off they go. So like you said, with the Miami Heat organization, like with the toughness and everything, it's baked into their entire team. You have guys like Duncan Robinson, undrafted, and he's an $80 million player. Now he's sitting on the bench because the next best thing came up through the organization. Max Strus, he's starting games. They just find players out of nowhere, and they get them in their system, they get them right, and off and running they go, which is why they're the #1 seed and probably have the 6th man of the year. And Tyler Hero, he probably ran away with that by
imagine that
the halfway point of the season. And everything from there, they've just been a well-oiled machine, except for one little hiccup, and you can't count them out because they just have guys all over the floor. And now that you have Kyle Lowry in there, and it's definitely like you were talking about the East, it's very wide open. You could have any number of, you could probably make a case for any of the 8 teams that are in the playoffs. There's some that I kind of say probably not going to happen. My Bulls, Kevin's Cavaliers, things happen like that. But you can make a compelling case for probably at least 6 teams that are going to be in the East. And that's a stark departure from what it's been the last 10 years or so, where in the East it was LeBron, or even after LeBron left, it was kind of assumed that it was going to be Giannis because he was next up. And here we are, Embiid's got the 76ers running. So it's going to be an interesting Eastern Conference playoffs, and I can't wait to watch it play out.
Yeah. So I'm still sticking with Milwaukee to come out East. That's depending on what happens with Boston and Brooklyn. That's kind of teamless because it's like again, put 4 teams in the hat, pull them out. It could be any one of those squads. I wouldn't be. God, it's so hard. It's so hard to get right now. So right now I'm sticking with my Milwaukee pick. I think Milwaukee gets Chicago in the first one, right? I think it gets Chicago. because Chicago's 6th seed. I think Milwaukee's the 3rd seed.
Yep.
So I'm sticking with Milwaukee right now. That could change, but yeah, I'm sticking with Milwaukee. Is that who you sticking with, Jarrod, or who do you have right now?
I would have to stick with Milwaukee just because I watched what Giannis did last year against the Suns in the finals, and you kind of watch that and you look at that and you say, did he finally figure out how he's got to do this in the playoffs and in the finals and when they really need it? And if he figured it out last year with that 50-point outburst in the last game of the finals, that's scary for the entire league.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I would have to stick with Milwaukee as well.
All right, Kevin, what say you, bro?
I got the red, white, and blue on tonight. I said it last time on here. I'm not a fan of the Sixers. I'm indifferent when it comes to them, but I always pick them on your show for some reason. So I'm gonna keep doing that tonight. I think going with playoff P is a very bold gamble on my part, or not playoff P, playoff Harden. Sorry, going with playoff Harden is very, very bold gamble on my part. But yeah, I like the way the Sixers are built. I think they kind of really treaded water, I think, down the stretch to the 4th seed. Not really uber impressive over the last couple months. But I like Doc Rivers. I like Embiid was the scoring champ of the league this year. Harden, since he's been there, he's averaged over 10 assists a game, which I think was a dynamic that they were missing with not having Simmons, not having a leader, a distributor on the offense. And, his 3-point percentage has gone down. Pretty much everything else has gone down for him statistically, but I do like, I like what he's done though, distributing. I like the other guys around Embiid. I think I'll probably regret it at the end of the playoffs.
Well,
but, I'm gonna stick. I said it last time, so I'm gonna stick with him this time. So
my only, yeah, again, it wouldn't be shocked if Philly came out east. I'd be more shocked if Harden doesn't regress back to playoff Harden in the past. That's what I'm afraid of. I'm afraid because, like when the trade happened, like people were all gushing, all excited about, wow, you got Harden and Embiid in the pick and roll. Can you imagine the stuff that he could do? But Harden is still a black hole. He still is a ball dominant dude. He's like, let me dribble, let me pat the ball for 20 out of the 24 seconds on the shot clock. Let me just throw it to wherever the hell is open on the corner. But that's not their game because they got some young guys who can really play. I can't think of his name right now, but there's a couple young guys on the Sixers. They're stepping it up all year, and they did not make that trade when they said that Ben Simmons trade like way back when. So I like Doc Rivers a lot. Mm-hmm. He's come up short in the playoffs too many times for my liking, unfortunately.
Yeah, and that's something I was considering too. I just think there's been so few times that he's actually got over the hump. He's gotten close to it quite a few times, but
right. And I'm just hoping. I'm pulling for again. I like Doc Rivers. I love him a lot. I'm just afraid that James Harden will show his colors again and quit, or try to engineer a way to get Mike D'Antoni in there or something. Look, I'll keep an open mind, James Harden.
Doc Rivers is going to be the coach of the Lakers,
I don't know,
man.
but Jerry, you about to say something, bro? Sorry about that.
Yeah, Doc Rivers is going to be the coach of the Lakers, and Mike D'Antoni is going to be the coach of the Sixers. We'll talk about all this in the offseason after it happens.
Because right now Quinn Snyder's the Vegas favorite, and I don't want that to happen. But I like him.
Well, I don't know. We'll get to him in a moment. Your beloved Jazz. I don't know why he would leave a stable situation in Utah to go to that crap show in LA. I don't know why he would want to do that. I don't know why he would do that, but that's not
Because Danny Ainge came in after Quinn Snyder was already there. That's why. That's why he would. It doesn't matter whether he wants to leave or not. If
Mhm.
Danny Ainge says goodbye, that means goodbye.
Plain and simple, right? So, well, I guess we're done with the East. Well, one more thing about these. Give a quick shout outs. I got you guys on here. To the biggest surprises in the NBA involves Jarrod's favorite team and Kevin's second favorite team, the Chicago Bulls and the Cleveland Cavaliers, respectively. I thought that both coaching staffs did a hell of a job coaching. I think injuries derailed both of your squads a lot, especially Cleveland. I mean, I tell you what, whoever's in charge in Cleveland, front office, they should send the Brooklyn Nets fruit baskets every month going forward, because he gave you guys the young studs that got you over the hump. Now, granted, they still have to play for the AC tomorrow night. I think they'll win. I think they'll beat Atlanta at home, but nevertheless, I don't think this is a failure for the Cavaliers. If y'all end up losing the AFC playing game, no one expected this.
Right.
So you guys did a great job.
I think the consolation is we get a lottery pick if we lose the play, right? We get the 14th pick or something. I don't know. What should I be rooting for? A loss in the first round or a lottery pick to come off the bench?
Well, it depends on how deep this draft class is. I mean, I hadn't really taken a good look at it, but some years it's been the top dude and everybody else. So I mean, that's where scouting comes in, right? That's where the scouting department makes their money. But going towards Chicago, man, I thought that the injuries to Lonzo Ball just really derailed the Bulls. I mean, there was a point in time where the Bulls were the number one, were the top spot in the East, if you could believe that. There was a time this season when that happened, before the injury set in and Miami went on a roll, Boston went on a bigger roll, right? And then Toronto just came in from the playing spot and just got hot like fish grease and just went their way into the fifth seed. But I think that Billy Donovan, Jarrod, did one hell of a job. And I think with a healthier squad next year, I mean, DeMar DeRozan deserves all the flowers in the world. He was a big contributor, right? Allowing what's his name, Zach LaVine to play more off the ball. That helped him a lot. And that's I guess it's credit to Lonzo Ball as well, being healthy when he was healthy. So I think both your squads be better next year with a full, because especially Cleveland, because a lot of the Cleveland's players came over from that trade, right? So I think with a full off season, I think Cleveland would be better too, which goes to underscore how deep the East is going to be for years to come.
Yeah,
go ahead, Kevin.
I was just gonna say I heard a cool comparison by Nick Wright, and I like some of the things he says. Don't like other, but that's with everyone.
All right.
He said, I think he called DeMar DeRozan the Rich Gannon of the NBA.
Wow.
Late in his career, he just shows up and is all of a sudden an MVP caliber player. I was like, oh, yeah.
That's hurtful. Really?
Well, Rich Gannon had that run, like the 3-year run with the Raiders. I mean,
Rich Gannon is not having his number retired by any organization. DeMar DeRozan will have his number retired by the Raptors.
Mm-hmm.
So, talking about the Bulls, Grayson Allen is a dick. And with his little hit on Caruso, whatever. It is what it is. That just kind of started the derailing of the season. Like you said, losing Lonzo Ball
I was muted for that one because I left that pretty.
He's a Duke guy. So anyone from Duke I can't stand anywhere outside of. So, but continue, Jarrod.
So just losing Lonzo Ball and losing Alex Caruso on top of, everybody forgets that the Bulls lost their starting small forward, the guy that's supposed to guard the other team's best player in the first week of the season and didn't have him at all this season in Patrick Williams. It was what Billy Donovan did to keep a good defense while you lost one of your stalwarts in Caruso and another one of the better defenders on your team in Lonzo Ball. That's more impressive than getting the offense to click. What I thought after watching the entirety of the season, because the offense was really filled with guys that know how to distribute the ball. There were, 3 or 4 guys at any point in time on the floor that you could put the ball in their hand, and they could create not only for themselves, but also for the guys around them. So getting an offense to flow when you have a lot of really good ball handlers and distributors on the floor, that's not quite as impressive as keeping that defense that's anchored by Nikola Vucevic and DeMar DeRozan as your 4 and 5. That's keeping something in the top half of the league. That's impressive. So yeah, like you said, they'll be better next year with some health. I'm excited to have Lonzo for year number 2, and we'll see how it goes next year. I doubt I get this DeMar DeRozan next year, but we'll see where that goes.
Yeah. So we already referenced the West. So basically, I think we're in agreement that the East is so freaking wide open. It wouldn't shock us if Milwaukee won it, Miami came out, if Boston or even Philly came out. Because again, two games separates those top 4 squads. They're all 4 won over 50 games, and they've been on the road. So it's just going to be a very exciting Eastern Conference playoffs. I'm excited as hell for it. I know you guys are as well. So I can't wait for, was it Sunday, Saturday, or Sunday? Like after the playing games, then the playoffs get started. Let's kick off the first round. So I'm all for the East, man. I'm excited. I'm so excited about the East. I can't say. Let's move to the West right quick. We referenced Kevin's beloved Jazz earlier, but let's start with what happened the other night in the play game in Minnesota. Now, yeah, I laughed at Patrick Beverley's his theatrics after they beat his old team, the LA Clippers, in the play game to get the 7th seed. Yeah, people have fun with social media. Saw LeBron's tweet, and someone said, "Wow, I guess the Timberwolves won the NBA Finals." So some stuff like that. Look, I get why he was exuberant. He's that guy anyway. But I get why the Minnesota fans and the rest of his teammates acted so excited. Cat Carter Towns was so excited. And Edwards, like stud, was very excited. Because I could imagine if you haven't been in the playoffs in up to 100 years, you'd be excited too, right? Because I remember last year about this time when my Knicks made the playoffs as the 4th seed, I was clicking my heels, man. Even though we got beaten the gentleman's sweep by the Hawks in 5 games, I still clicked my heels because I was excited. Like, we're in the playoffs for the first time in seemed like forever. And so I get the Timberwolves fans, I get the team, I get Patrick Beverley being exuberant, plus beating his old squad that gave up on him from last year, had to make it sweeter too. However, for Stephen A. Smith, I think that it'll be the end of the rise because they're not beating Memphis. So anyway, I think the West is top heavy as hell. I'll just go ahead and say it. To me, it's Phoenix, Memphis, and everybody else. Now, it will be fast. The only fascinating thing is how healthy Golden State will be when the playoffs start, because I think Steph's going to give the go in the first round. I know he missed the last few games of the season, or if not weeks of the season. So I think this will be the first time in a long time that Steph, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green will all be healthy and playing at the same time, the starting lineup. So it's going to be interesting to see what they'll do. But to me, I start with you, Jarrod. I think the West is a 2-team conference. It's either Phoenix, Memphis, the end.
So for me, health plays and obviously this for both conferences, a huge role in what's going on. Um, you look at Phoenix, and they are very Chris Paul. They're good without Chris Paul, but are they good enough without Chris Paul to be a shoe-in?
Sure.
That's bothersome. There's a track record there. I don't wish anything upon Chris Paul. In fact, I would love to see him win a title, but when you have data that shows there's generally an injury that pops up in the playoffs, that's scary. The
Right.
same thing can be said in Memphis with Ja Morant. Yeah, the team was whatever 26-3 without Morant or whatever
Which is
this year, and
ridiculous.
a lot of those 26 wins came against really bad teams or during the height of the Omicron variant when everybody was out and we were bringing
Right.
the likes of Lance Stevenson back into play games. So you had those things were all happening when the Memphis was winning without Morant. So like you touched on with Golden State, how healthy is Steph? It seems like every team in the West has a question except for Kevin's Utah Jazz about the health of one of their two best players. I mean, Denver's gone all year without their second and third best player at this point. So who's to say that somebody above Denver doesn't get injured and Denver can't make the finals? There's things that can always happen, but I think the West is, like you said, kind of top heavy, but I would throw Denver in with that as well because Jokic is that good.
Yeah. Yeah. For him to do it without Jamal Murray and that Michael, forget his last name, Michael Porter Jr. It's just he may get back-to-back MVPs. Dude's amazing. Not bad for a dude drafted the second round, right? So
Not at all. I predicted, I think 3 years ago it was, that he would win the MVP for that season. And he didn't win the MVP for that season, but he did the next season. So something's right there. He's been every bit as he's been the best big man in the league for 2-3 years now.
yeah, I mean, it's just amazing to me. A guy who was a center could pass the ball, shoot the ball, put the ball on the floor. It's amazing. It's amazing to me. I mean, but yeah, Denver is a true dog horse, to be sure. That's all because of Jokic. That's all because of Jokic. I mean, it's going to be it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Dallas too. If Luka he's fully healthy, right? Because I'm not going to wood. I want that young man to be able to play because I think the playoffs will suck if he's not going to be either 100%, not 100%, or not be able to fully go. It would just still totally suck. So I'm hoping that he goes too. But yeah, I like him.
No, I was just gonna say, yeah, definitely. I agree. I'm obviously rooting for the Jazz in that series, but it wouldn't be a good series if Doncic didn't play. And just shout out to Andre Sparks. He's a Twitter friend, I think, of mine and yours. He's a big Mavericks fan, so be
that's right. Yeah.
getting to root against him in a friendly manner in that one. But just to get in on the Jokic commentary, I said earlier at the start of the show, I thought that Brooklyn series was a chance for Tatum to really cement his legacy going up against, Durant and going up against Irving. Here's a chance for him to take that next step. I think we also, as good as Jokic has been, and, arguably one of the best players in the NBA, if not, the MVP, however you want to, designate that award in the NBA. I don't necessarily think it goes to the best player, but we're talking about him possibly getting back-to-back MVP. So he's definitely one of the best players in the league. When do we start holding his feet to the fire in that same breath of having, where's his playoff success? When do we start putting the pressure on him and his legacy for his career? When does he start getting knocked as a guy that is great in the regular season, but whose team, can't get it done in the playoffs? And I think this is an excellent opportunity. Yeah, he's the 6th seed going up against Golden State, who's the 3 seed, but you've got a great opportunity against, maybe they aren't what they were a few years ago, but, Curry, Thompson, and Green are going to be remembered as one of the best trios in NBA history. You get a chance to go up against them and state your claim. So I think there's definitely, I think that's definitely a storyline to follow. And, but speaking just to what Jarrod said about my Jazz being healthy, Donovan Mitchell is day to day. Okay, day to day. Don't say we're fully healthy.
Day to day is much better than out and out and out and out and Chris Paul.
That's funny. So I'll wrap the well, actually, yeah. I'll close. I'll wind down the podcast with this, man. I'll go around, Kevin and Jarrod. If Phoenix is not going to come out the West, who's the team that's going to knock them off that perch? If there's such team.
Oh man, I think I'll let you guys talk about Memphis, and because I could talk about Jackson and Bain and Morant and their youth, and they fit well together. The team is built like a perfect puzzle as far as guys complementing each other. But I'll let you guys have that, and I'll
come in the back end.
I'll let you guys. I'm gonna go with Golden State.
Okay.
You mentioned Steph and Clay and Draymond like being fully healthy, and I think you look at the West, like Jarrod said, injuries are a story for everybody. You look at, it's wide, it's not as wide open as the East. There's not as many teams that you think could really do it. So I think maybe if it's not going to be Phoenix, maybe this is like Golden State's last hurrah, before, as they kind of get into their golden years, pardon the pun, so.
There you go. It boils down to health, right? That's the ultimate wild card. I just think if take those injuries out of the equations, I think it will come down between Phoenix and Golden State. And this is why. I as much as I like Memphis, I think they're coming. They're tough. I just think they got the experience last year, the playoff experience last year against your Jazz in the first round. I just think that they're not. I don't think they're ready to be the favorites. I don't think. I mean, because I think Memphis gets Minnesota in the first round. They'll beat Minnesota, right, with or without a healthy job. I think the second round is going to be tricky, especially if Golden State sitting right there waiting. And because Golden State will be coming out should be a tough competitive series against them. I don't think Jokic is going to let the Nuggets just bow down quickly and easily. It's going to be a dogfight. So, given Golden State's past playoff successes and experience, and the fact that all three stars of the team, Draymond, Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, would be healthy and they're very motivated to let us all know, hey, we're still here. We're still that team. Phoenix who? So that's why I don't think Memphis is ready to be on that stage with the likes of Golden State and Phoenix, to be honest with you. So that's why I have Golden State, which should be a spirited series, prevail over Memphis. Now, again, everything comes down to injuries. It's like how's Ja Morant's ankle? I think it's his ankle. Or how's his ankle? How is he physically? Because we know that the rest of the squad is deep. I love the rest of the squad. I just think that, to Jarrod's point earlier, a lot of those 26 wins without Ja came against bad teams. And the playoffs are a different animal because you're going to see the same team at least 4 times. And that team is solely concentrated on beating you, neutralizing your weaknesses, right? Your strengths and exploiting your weaknesses. That's what makes this series so great in the playoffs. So if you once you get past Minnesota, how are you going to scheme against Golden State without Ja? Good luck with that, okay? So again, that's why I have Golden State beat Memphis, but I think Phoenix will beat Golden State. I haven't beaten Golden State, which should be a very exciting series. But the only team that could possibly knock off Phoenix, I think, is Golden State. And I don't know if Jarrod agrees with me or not, but I think Golden State gives them has a better chance of knocking off the Phoenix Suns than any team in the West right now, like in the playoff field.
Well, you guys talking about Golden State, you're probably right, because they're not so old that they're decrepit. They're not part of the geriatric club yet. They're getting closer, and they've got the know-how, obviously, to win in the playoffs. So while you guys make compelling arguments, I think I will still stick with Memphis, just because it kind of reminds me of what happened in Cincinnati during the football season. It's like a young team that had a couple of good veteran players on it, Steven Adams for Memphis, and they just don't care who you are, what you've done, where you've been. They're going to try to get under LeBron's skin. They're going to try to get under Durant's skin. It doesn't matter. They just don't care. And it might be one of those situations where they're too young to not know what they don't know. So how are they going to, they're just going to run through it and keep on going. And Morant's just electric. And you can see that the entire team kind of feeds off of him. And if you're asking me to peg the next great superstar, I would probably go with Morant, just because the high flying, it reminds me so much of Derrick Rose, and it scares me because I watched what happened. I watched what happened to those knees, and it pains me to this day. But if he can avoid the fate that Derrick Rose had, boy, is he electric. So if anybody's going to knock off Phoenix, I would probably say Memphis, just because they're so deep and talented. They can play big with Adams. They can play small and move Jaren Jackson Jr. to the 5, and just it kind of unlocks all sorts of switchability while also maintaining rim protection. So they're the kind of team that if they do make a deep run, it really wouldn't surprise me to see chalk in the Western Conference Finals with 1-seeded Phoenix playing 2-seeded Memphis.
Yeah, I think that's the favorite right now. So Kevin, what do you think, brother? Are you able to come to a sensus?
I mean, if I'm allowed to pick, I'm going to take Phoenix out of the West. But yeah, I think if I could pick anybody but Phoenix, I'd probably stick with Golden State. Jarrod got me excited though, man. You know, big Bengals fan. I mean, start thinking of Morant and Burrow comparisons and be like, oh yeah, we just got this young, cool guy that, like Jarrod said, doesn't know what he doesn't know. But I think I'm going to stick with the Warriors as far as if any other team other than Phoenix could come out. But big if I'm going with big ifs tonight. My big if was betting on playoff Harden, and even saying that, it's like but my other big if is if Phoenix stays healthy, I think they coast to the finals. I love Monty Williams. I love the brand of basketball they play. I mean, I just enjoyed watching them so much last year, and I think if you can do that for someone who is not necessarily a huge fan of your team, I think that speaks to just a great style of ball that Phoenix plays. So I'm taking them out of the West.
So nice. Quick question for you. Was it that bad of a pick to take Ayton over Doncic?
Or are you saying like should they have taken I think right now it's worked out right because of the way the team's built now.
Yeah, because they were able to build the team out around him properly. It's my question, I guess, insofar as it was kind of universally panned that Doncic, you passed up the generational talent, and of course you're never going to live up to that. But is it the massive failure that it's kind of looked like it was pegged out to be in the first couple of years?
I mean, I think I would say no because of their team now. I mean, I get what you're saying. I think there's a tension where there's part of me that's like, well, I mean, Luka Doncic. Everybody would love to have him, but the style of ball that they play, I think Chris Paul is definitely more suited for their team and for their style of ball. And I mean, you put him on that team, and they instantly became one of the top teams in the NBA. They made the finals last year. So I think in that sense, it's hard because yes, obviously you want the best player, but then on the flip side is you also want the best team. So I guess I'd have to say no then.
All right. I love it when you follow my train of thought.
Well, let me close the show on this. I meant to touch on it earlier, speaking of the Jazz. We alluded to in the first segment, we talked about the Eastern Conference. If Utah somehow does not get it done against Dallas in the first round, is this the end of head coach Quinn Snyder? And if so, do you expect to have more chatter about possibly moving Rudy Gobert or the fabulous point guard Donovan Mitchell?
I think so. And I was on that train last year where I wanted them to move Gobert just because there's always been an internal conflict and struggle, but they're best friends and their worst enemies between Mitchell and Gobert. And if you really look at the team, the unfortunate catch-22 is that Quinn Snyder is such a good coach and Donovan Mitchell is such a good player. And to his credit, Gobert is too for what he does and what he does for them, that right. They're good enough to be who they are, but they're not good enough to be anything more than that. And I kind of compare it to the Al Horford Hawks years, where the Hawks were always kind of there, but never really a serious challenger. And I think that's Utah right now. They're never going to play bad enough to get the draft capital to get players. They're not. That's not a free agent destination. I think Salt Lake's beautiful, but
it's a beautiful city, right?
Everything closes at 8 p.m. So it's not necessarily a place where you're going to attract marquee free agents. So I think ideally for me, they would move Gobert for some either marquee draft capital. A team that maybe if there's a team here in the next few years that ends up with a couple lottery picks, if they can snag one or both for Gobert, something where they shift gears and they start rebuilding. I do think if they lose in the first round, I think that could spell the end for Quinn Snyder. Jarrod mentioned Ainge being new to the front office, and I mentioned Snyder being the favorite for the Lakers job anyway. If he really is the favorite for the Lakers job, and Pelinka, and I don't know if LeBron has to sign off on it at this point. Right now, he's in the doghouse for signing off on Westbrook, right? So, right. But let's say he's their guy, then Jazz get bounced in the first round. That makes that situation probably go faster than it might otherwise. But yeah, to answer, I do think it's the end of the Quinn Snyder era if they lose in the first round. I don't see, and it's a franchise that, like I said, every year, going back to last year and the year before, they're treading water in who they are, and
sure.
I don't think they can get beyond who they are with how they're built right now, and they don't have the ability to build beyond it with how they're built right now, if that makes sense.
Right.
My comparison was the Indiana Pacers during the LeBron Miami Heat years. They were just good enough to be
Paul George, yeah.
Yeah, with the Paul George and all, with that squad, and when Roy Hibbert was a thing.
I just caught that. I caught that slide. I like how you slid in there, Jarrod. Shout out to Roy Hibbert. And Deshaun and Stevenson too. Yeah.
Yeah, Lance Stevenson was there.
Lance Stevenson said Deshaun. Lance Stevenson. My bad.
Isn't he always kind of there? He leaves and he comes back, and
yeah, he pretty much. He's back now. He's back there now. Give him some
And
minutes.
Indiana loves him. I went to a game this season in
Mhm.
Indianapolis. The crowd did not get louder at any point during that game than when Lance Stevenson checked on the floor for the first time. They love him out there for some reason.
They do. They love his air guitars. They love him. They love him blowing that sweet wind in LeBron's ear during the playoffs. Speaking of those Miami Heat, Indiana Pacers battles, but yeah, he's a character. From what I hear, he's a good dude off the court and like in the locker room as well. So,
I don't
he's
want
love
to.
him.
I don't want to keep it going longer than you want, Scott. But I'm loving, as a LeBron fanboy, I'm loving that Westbrook to the Pacers rumor for some. I don't know why the Pacers would do this, but I've loved the noise that's been going on there.
I don't know why anyone would trade for Russell Westbrook at this point. I mean, why would you want that? Why'd you want? You have 47 million reasons not to trade for him, if anything, right? He's due 47 million in the last year of his contract next season, and he's like, he's going to be the same way he's going to be everywhere. Give me the ball, off a rebound, let me take care of it. Where does that win at? Where does that win at? I mean, for Kevin Durant to
What
do
if
what
you're
he
not
did,
trying to win?
huh?
What if you're not trying to win? Then he's really valuable.
Well, there you go. Maybe to put butts in seats and not give a damn about winning, who knows? But anyway, that's a big God. That LA, the Lakers are such a crap show right now. It's hilarious to watch as a Knicks fan. It is just hilarious to watch. I mean, look, shout out to LeBron James. I mean, he's a great player. He wins almost everywhere he goes. Like everywhere he goes, he got that one championship with the Lakers in the bubble. But God, he has to be sitting down like, I left Cleveland for this. Come on, dude. But anyway, man. Hey, thank y'all for hey, Kevin, Jarrod, thank you very much. And also, Kevin, Jarrod, right quick, Kevin, what's your Twitter handle to find you on Twitter?
Just at Kevin McCune, spelled right there, like where my name generates there.
Okay.
KEVINMCCUNE. Yep.
Okay. Jarrod?
I'm at J Singleton 21.
Cool.
I was lucky. I was the first Kevin McCune to join Twitter.
There you go, because you can just keep it simple. Just put your name. You have to be fancy like the rest of us have to do. But anyway, please check these guys out on Twitter. They're great fellows for basketball, all things basketball in Ohio State. So check those guys out as well. And Cincinnati Bengals too. Gotta throw that in there. So thank y'all for joining me in this podcast. We'll see you soon. I know I'm gonna holler at you guys later in the playoffs. So stay tuned for a phone call from me or a Twitter message from like DM message like from me when the second round hits. So thank y'all both for joining me as always. It's a lot of fun talking NBA ball with y'all. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Scott.
All right, you welcome.
Thanks for having me on, Scott.
You got it, bro. And meantime, for you fans out there, please continue to check me out on Twitter as well at the Klown Times _1906 as well. And also please continue to subscribe, like, share, and comment. And please check us out like once it hits YouTube and spread the word. But enjoy these playoffs. This should be a fabulous playoffs. I'm very excited about this year's playoffs. So enjoy it. Until next time, take care. Have a good weekend. Peace out.